You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, channel 127.
And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live right here, Friday, December 21st. Sitting next to me, Michelangelo Signorelli. We're backstage, just the end of the famous Turkey and Angel Awards right here. Michael, it's still the excitement in the air. A lot of celebrities walking around. So, Michael, how did you feel the award show went tonight? A lot of people called. I'm not kidding. I was in the control room, and the phone lines exploded.
It was phenomenal. And I think people were feeling, especially excited this year because there really were a lot of big losers and horrible things. That's what the turkeys are, and horrible people. And they deservedly got their prizes, their audio statuettes, as we call them. But there were a lot of powerful heroes this year, people who did great things, angels. And I think people were just really excited to finally be able to talk about those people and talk about beating back the Republicans.
Who were the top angels at the end there that it came down to?
Well, it came down in the end to the top three, Christine Blasey Ford and Nancy Pelosi. And our third one was...
The Parkland students or not?
No, they were close, actually.
Right.
But our third one was Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh.
Really got a lot of votes.
Sure. Today
but I got to tell you, with the Angels, it was so close when in terms of trying to pick the top three. And like the fourth was almost in there. And then when it was the three, it was overwhelmingly Christine Blasey Ford. But among the turkeys, let me tell you, there were so many that it was like Trump got the lion's share, and then everyone else was like the same number of votes almost for second. I mean, there were so many more people, but he was so far ahead.
It's almost like you'd need a different award because Trump is going to get the turkey because he sucks up the air and he is the biggest turkey.
I know.
So it's sort of like there should be like maybe a
we do have a Gassy Award.
Oh, you do? So what's that award?
And he also got the Gassy.
Oh, so you got two awards.
But we used to do Gassies. We used to do turkeys around Thanksgiving and Gassies and Angels together.
Right.
The Gassy Awards are a little bit noisy in a flatulent sort of way, and people kind of were complaining about the noise.
So Donald Trump at some point, I hope he takes a victory lap on Twitter saying Michelangelo Signorelli.
Oh yeah, he won big on this show,
and that he finally won, as Matthew said, finally won the popular vote. I heard Matt in the control room saying that. So when you look back, there's so much going on. Is there any one issue that stands out as defining 2018 in your mind?
I think the midterms. It really, to me, just changed the playing field, changed our direction, changed the feeling of so many of us who were fighting. I mean, you could go through all the different things, Kavanaugh and Kennedy stepping down and the Paris Agreement, all of that.
Right.
They're all turning points of their own, but they're all the same thing, ominous and terrible. The midterms were something that provided hope.
It did. And if you think back a year ago where we were, it was a great deal of guarded optimism. Don't forget, Doug Jones had just won a few weeks before the end of the year in December in Alabama last year. So we had that, and we were feeling like, hey, maybe things are going to turn around. Now, a year later, we actually have objective results where we can say we flipped 40 House seats, got the most votes in a midterm any party ever got.
Yeah.
We flipped 7 governorships, and I think we won the Senate overall by 15% of the vote, but I know a lot of big states on our favor there. But if the entire Senate was up, we would have won the Senate back, and there's no doubt about that, just the map. So let me ask you, if you had to predict right now, a year from today, where do you think Donald Trump will be?
It's really a tough one. It's tough to figure out how fast things will go. I think Donald Trump is on his way out. I don't know how fast it will go. If you asked me just a week and a half ago, I would say by this time next year he will still be in office, and Democrats will have by that point done an enormous amount of investigating. They will have all the results, and they will be moving to impeachment.
Right.
And whether or not Republicans would join would be up in the air. Now, just literally 2 weeks later, I'm feeling like maybe we'd be at the point where he's already gone, or maybe the Republicans, it wouldn't be a choice anymore. They'd be saying to him, you've got to go. When we look at what happened with Mattis, General Mattis resigning yesterday, I think that was a game changer for Republicans.
It could be the way the response has been pretty uniformed, and people were very vocal, not even worried about speaking out against Donald Trump. From Fox Newsers to Dan Crenshaw, the new member of Congress from Texas, the veteran. He hasn't even been sworn in yet, and he was critical today publicly of Donald Trump. To Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Bob Corker, and the list goes on. And it's important. I mean, a lot of them are leaving office, not Marco, the other two. I mean, Lindsey Graham just says whatever he wants, but you have Bob Corker leaving. At some point, though, more and more Republicans speaking out, I think that sends a message in a way. And it's important because the base hears it, and they go, wow, I guess maybe this was wrong.
What I worry about, here's the one thing I worry about, that they send a message, and Mitch McConnell was very clear in his message, pretty much that you bring somebody on who's just like General Mattis, has the same points of view as General Mattis. You almost get the sense that they're trying to still manage Trump, and that Trump may, bring somebody in who's sort of, more mainstream and not extreme or in his camp like Whitaker or whatever, and then they'll be fine with it again. I mean, you just don't know. And that's what I worry about.
It could be Secretary of Defense Scott Baio. I mean, just ridiculous.
Sheriff Arpaio.
Right, why not just Arpaio? You know what's interesting, by the way? I'm here with Michelangelo Signorelli, who's sitting in for a few minutes with me before he takes off for the rest of the year. The three TVs are on, MS, CNN, Fox News. They all have a countdown to shutdown clock, but Fox News is different by almost a minute. For some reason, they have their own time because MS says shutdown 5:47, 25 seconds. CNN almost the same. For some reason, always on Fox News, it's an extra 40 seconds before the shutdown. Like they might know something that we don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. So how long, last thing here, what do you think, how long do you think this shutdown lasts, and who do you think pays the price for it?
There's no question Republicans will pay the price. I think Trump is determined to stick with his base. If Democrats are determined not to give anything, and, we're feeling that Democrats aren't giving anything, but their track record is not great. So, if they don't budge, I think he will stick with this, and the government will shut down at least into the beginning of next year. The way I could see it playing out is Democrats then pass a bill, dare the Republicans to vote it down in the Senate. And I think in the end, Republicans may be forced to override his veto.
That would be remarkable. And I wonder if Donald Trump would allow that to happen. The idea of having a chamber that Republicans control, the Senate, overriding him. And we're talking about after January 3rd when the House becomes Democratic at that point. If he would allow that, if his ego would deal with it, or he would say, I'll make a deal and I'll sign off and declare victory. Like they give him something. Or he'll say, we found $5 billion sitting in the Defense Department.
Or he's playing this whole thing about the steel slats, which is really a fence, but he wants to say it's a steel slat wall. I think he can already do that.
Right.
And he may just sort of try to claim he got a victory when they just give him some extra money for border security. And let's be clear, in the previous bill last year, it said specifically no money for a concrete wall, for a concrete structure.
Right.
So if he just gets extra money for border security, for barriers, and then he says, I got my wall, see, it's a steel slat wall, he'll claim he won. The question is, does Ann Coulter and the rest of them believe that stuff?
It's unreal that Ann Coulter has more power in this administration than Jim Mattis did. And it really sums up where we are. We're out right-wing, white supremacist, anti-Semitic people like Ann Coulter, and that's her record, folks. I'm not being hyperbolic. White
Tucker
supremacy,
Carlson,
anti-Semitic stuff online. But I'm saying Ann Coulter really went out there on Fox News. Then you had Rush Limbaugh. Then you had, I guess, Hannity and Tucker as well, really saying that this is absolutely wrong. And he listened and he caved it because he flip-flop. Like he went from, it's all me. I don't care. Shut it down. And a few days later, okay, forget it. And then a few days later, he's like, I'm okay. We're shutting it down.
But if he loses them, if he loses his base, he's lost everything. Unlike any other president, he didn't expand the group of people who support him. He shrunk. His base shrunk. So if he gets them pissed off, who's going to protect him in an impeachment?
Nobody. You're absolutely right. He is the president of his base. And I've made this point countless times that I'm not being snarky when I say Donald Trump is not my president. He doesn't want to be my president. Doesn't want to be your president.
No, he has
wants to be
no
the president
interest.
of his base. Right. We don't exist. We're collateral damage to him. We're acceptable losses in any stretch of the imagination. Our interest, in fact, he has demonized both our respective communities with the transgender ban for the military and mine with the Muslim ban. So this is a man who views us
And
both
so many
communities as
other
expendable.
things he's done in terms of the gay community and in terms of immigrants and Muslims too.
It's remarkable. By the way, Mike, last thing, Michael Moore last night, who's well-intentioned, but said on MSNBC that with Mattis gone, it's the first time he's frightened in 2 years. And I'm like, if you were a minority or a person of color, you would be frightened many, many times in the last 2
Yes.
years. And I know he's trying to make a bigger point, like this should really concern you. But it's interesting sometimes to hear that from someone where, you know, a white male progressive who's heterosexual, their view of things is going to be different than if you're a person of color, if you're a religion that's minority status, if you're in the LGBT community. And again, he was completely well-intentioned, but it was an honest remark by him. He said something, though.
He wasn't feeling that personal safety threat, you know, literally. And, you know, look, Mattis was no gem either. And in many ways, I had hoped Mattis would have left a long time ago. Any of these people who are giving Trump legitimacy are propping him up. If this works out that the Senate finally moves, that Republicans finally move, then it will be a good thing that Mattis left.
We'll see what happens. Well, Mike, how are you going to enjoy the holidays? Going away? Just relaxing?
No, I'll be around. And then back on the show.
Back on,
Beginning
and
of
it's
the
funny, you didn't mention when your birthday was, but I'll just say it was this week. Mine was Monday, and today's
Yeah.
Mark Thompson's.
It's
Who I
amazing.
saw in the hall, and I almost corralled to come in, but he was leaving with his son to celebrate his birthday. So I'm like, but it was
We
like
could have
40 minutes.
had a birthday cake right here on the air.
We could have shared it. But Michael, thank you very much
Thank
for spending
you,
a few
Dean.
minutes.
It's
Congratulations
been-
on a great year. It's an honor
yeah.
to see you every day and chat with you, and I learn from you every day. I listen the control room, and I'm always learning a great deal from you.
It's been
Sincerely.
amazing having you on the air here on Progress and loving your work online, and you inspire all of us too. So
Thank you very much, Michael. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and
Absolutely.
see
Same
you
to
next
you.
year, as they say.
Happy New Year.
Take care. So, folks, why don't we take a quick break, come back. We're going to take your calls. We'll talk a little bit about the border wall, of course. But the real question I have, and I asked Michael this question, and it's the idea of where do you think Donald Trump will be in 1 year? And you could give me a joke answer, but I honestly think it's a legitimate question at this point. A year ago, it would have been just something hyperbolic, over the top. Where's he going to be? Of course, he'll be in the White House. I'm not sure anymore. I don't know where he will be in a year. So we'll break it down a little bit more on the other side. But you're my guest right to the top of the hour. Then we have a lot of guests here. 866-997-4748. Be right back after this. Progressive values are the best of American values, and we need to keep fighting for them to save our country.
Don't go anywhere. This is the Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127. You're listening to the Dean Obadala Show.
Every time we piss off a Trump supporter, an angel gets their wings.
It's that time of the show again, where you are the guest. Call us at 866-997-4748. Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome back, Dean Obadala Show. We're live Friday, December 21st. This is our last live show of the year. Very excited about it. We'll be off until January 2nd. There's going to be some live programming on this channel. This show will just be the way it was decided. It's going to be repeats, unless there's some huge breaking news. And who knows? I'll be in the New York City area. I will all be on Twitter, though, the entire break, because I am needy, at Dean Obadala, or Facebook.com/Dean of Radio, or drop me an email. That's the best way to communicate with me. And I'd love to hear from you sincerely about 2019. And people have emailed me. But what would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? What are your suggestions in terms of content? 2019 is such an important year for us that it's the table-setting year to take the White House back in 2020. So, again, Dean at deanofradio.com. What do you think is the right way? And I wanted this platform to be a place for Democratic candidates running for Congress last year and to be part of the conversation and hopefully help them win. And I was really proud of all the candidates that came on this show. So what do you suggest for 2020, but through 2019, obviously, next year, 2019? What do we do? How do we get ready? 866-997-4748. Let's talk about what's going down in the government right now. There is no deal yet on a compromise. The countdown clock says 5 hours, 36 minutes to a government shutdown. And here's the thing. Let's cut through a little bit of the BS. I'll just talk a little bit. I'd love to hear more from you tonight. But there's not any debate on the Democratic side. No one articulating in Congress or incoming class saying there should not be border security. So this false argument from Donald Trump and those on the right who love him and mimic and parrot his lies, Democrats want open borders, Democrats don't want security, that is not true. What we want is smart security. What we want is efficient security. And I mean efficient in terms of being effective and cost efficient. Because we do not have unlimited money. And we all know if you're going to spend money on a program like the wall, the Republicans will come back and try to gut a program to help Americans in need. And for those who doubt me or others who say the wall is ineffective, I'm not an expert on walls. That's why, as opposed to some Trump supporters and some Republicans who mimic and parrot Donald Trump unthinkingly, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know everything about the wall. I will read some statistics for you, but I'm going to share a clip of a Republican congressman. We played this yesterday. I think this is so important. Congressman Will Hurd, a Republican who represents 800 miles of the border in Texas. And he was a former CIA undercover agent who, in his own words, went after bad guys. And this is his view yesterday on the wall. And I think it's so important to hear from people who live there, who see the border, and know exactly what's going on. So here is clip number 7.
This fallacy that a wall equals border security. I might have more border than any other member of Congress, 820 miles of the border. I spent a decade as an undercover officer in the CIA chasing bad guys. We are monitoring or keeping track of the wrong metric. It's not how many miles of wall that is going to keep us safe. It's are we keeping bad people and are we keeping drugs out of our country? And the best way to do that is with technology and manpower. Building a wall from sea to shining sea is the most expensive and least effective way to do border security.
So there you have a congressman representing that district. I also defer a lot to people who live in Texas and see this. There's a poll out asking the people of Texas, do you want Trump's wall? You might be stunned by the results. Do you want to hear the results to how many Texans want a wall built that Trump envisions? 61% of Texans oppose the wall. That's right, 61% oppose. What percentage of Texans, people living there, want this wall? Only 35%. And this is generally a red to purple state. People who live there, even Republicans in Texas, are not on board with Trump's wall. Now, Trump said today, this is all about security and reducing crime. Well, here's the reality. You can find other ways to do that without building a massive wall that'll cost $25 to $30 billion of our dollars because Trump failed. He could not get Texas to pay for the wall, despite promising and having his audience repeat it like it was communion. And he would say something and they'd repeat, Mexico's going to pay for it. But here's the thing. If Donald Trump was sincere about crime in this country and about saving American lives, then why doesn't Donald Trump talk about the 30 Americans who will be killed today by gun violence, including, on average, 8 children and teenagers who today will be killed by gun violence? If he's really sincere about saving us from being murdered and crime, why not address the issue of gun violence in this country that takes over 10,000 lives a year of our fellow Americans, including 8 children and teens every day? And that's the Brady Commission on Gun Violence that tells me those numbers, not me making them up. Not a peep from him about that. And that undermines his credibility. And secondly, Donald Trump wants you to believe that undocumented immigrants, they have one setting, criminal or rapist. The reality is, and I shared it earlier today, Washington Post had a great article with 2 studies, one from the Journal of Criminology, which found that looking at populations in this country, undocumented immigrants commit crimes at a far, far lower percentage than native-born Americans. And immigrants, legal ones, commit less crimes than native-born Americans as well. And I don't mean in raw numbers, because obviously there's so many more native-born people. I mean on a percentage basis. And it's not even close. According to the Journal of Criminology, they looked at population levels and crime rates. Do places with a higher percentage of undocumented immigrants have higher rates of crime? The answer, according to them, a resounding no. So when you take away the fact that it's not really about security, when you add to the fact there are more efficient ways that are going to be cost effective, that do not result in a massive wall, you're left with what we know you're left with. This is a monument to white supremacy. It is a way to make his fearful, skitterish base of snowflakes feel better that brown people are not coming to this country and changing the demographics. It is like a massive Confederate general statue being built. That's what Trump wants. And he is willing to shut down the government. And even forget $25 or $30 billion, just for this $5 billion that he wants for this wall. According to the Washington Post, they had a great little article today on this. For $5 billion, you know what you can use that money for? 850,000 Americans who are uninsured could have health insurance. For $5 billion, you can fund universal pre-K across the country. Universal pre-K for $5 billion. You can repair the Flint water crisis for $55 million. But no, Donald Trump wants $5 billion. And like a baby who's afraid of his own base, and that's what this is about, now the government's going to close down in 5 hours and 30 minutes. And today, Sarah Sanders said something that was a minor statement to many, but to me it reflects what this administration is about. Because I do not think this was a misspeak. She said, quote, all of America wants this wall. All of America wants this wall. That's what she said. The reality is a Quinnipiac poll that just came out yesterday showed a solid majority of Americans are opposed to this wall. Who does want this wall? 86% of Republicans want this wall. And this comment by her that all of America wants this wall, again, is them being dismissive to us. When I say Donald Trump is not my president, I keep repeating this. I'm not being snarky. I'm not being a jerk. I'm not trying to be this elitist. Oh, I'm better than him, or he's not my president because I'm a little baby because we didn't win. No, Donald Trump doesn't want to be my president. He doesn't want to be your president. The only people he wants to be the president of is his base. So when Sarah Sanders says all of America, she means all of their America. We're not even real Americans in their view. And I say that honestly. I don't think they not only don't they care about us, they demonize us to make their base happy. So that's where we are. But let me ask you a bunch of questions before we take a break. We're going to talk. I'd love to get your response on the idea of the shutdown, how long you think it'll last, who will pay a price politically. But I have a couple of questions I want to add out there too, because this is the last live show of the year. In a year from now, who do you think will be the leading Democrat for president? The first debates are scheduled for June. So in 6 months, we're going to have our first debates. But in a year from now, who do you think will be the leading Democrat? In a year from now, who do you honestly think, where do you honestly think Donald Trump will be? There's no wrong answers, of course. But honestly, in your heart, you can joke around, but then also tell me seriously, where do you think he will be? Not where do you hope he'll be, but honestly, where do you think he will be from now? And what do you predict will be in the Mueller report? We might get it mid-February. I'm really interested in a lot of this stuff. I was giving it thought today about what do I want to see in the next year, and we all have so little control over some of these things, but certain things I would like to see. And so where do you think Trump will be in a year? Who wins the shutdown? fight that's going on. Who will be the leading Democrat a year from now? Tough question. All right, 866-997-4748. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you right to the top of the hour, right here on the Dean Obeidallah Show. Look, it's time the media start calling out Trump's false statements for what they are. Lies. Trump is a liar. And by the looks of it, he's lying